Welcome to the Unofficial Steelers Podcast, the podcast so unofficial it doesn't have a home. Here's your host, from In Hindsight, Natha Heintz. From Steelers Nation Australia, Mark Davidson. And from State of the Steelers, Daniel J. Here we go.
What is up, Steeler fans? This is the Unofficial Steelers Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel J. of State of the Steelers. And alongside with me, Mark from Steelers Nation Australia. How you doing today, Mark?
I'm doing all right, mate. Sun's coming out. It's all good. 8:15 going well.
Nice. And returning back to the show after a little bit over a week long absence. Nathan, how you doing?
Good to be back. Good to be back, guys, on the show. Good to be back to you all viewers in the comments section. Steelers fan, what's up? Where's Daniel's Bud Light? I would love to know. Where is it? Good to be back, though, guys. Good to be back. It's going to be a pretty good show. Jared, what's up, man? Good to see you. George. Gonna have a lot to talk about today, guys.
Yes, we do. The Pittsburgh Steelers fall to the Miami Dolphins, fall 16-10. It's been a lot of conversation, a lot of talk going on. Is it Matt Canada? Is it Kenny Pickett? Is it the offensive line, running game, Najee Harris? So many questions because at the end of the day, I'm not going to blame the defense like Mike Tomlin has in his most recent conferences. I'm tired of that narrative, but they held the Dolphins to under 20 points. And again, the Steelers offense only scores 10. The obvious problem is on offense. Do you think there's an answer or a solution? We'll start off with you, Mark. What do you think the Steelers got to do to get this going?
Just firstly, those comments that Mike Tomlin said the other day were terrible. Like, how does he blame the defense? And the defense didn't allow a point in the second half. Like, his whole idea was pretty much saying, we didn't capitalize on getting the football, taking it away, and giving the offense a shorter field. That to me is inexcusable. Like that is one of the worst answers I've ever heard Tomlin say. You're saying your defense didn't help your offense play real football? Man, it's crazy. Like they had 4 chances. Yes, they should have caught that, but the defense still allowed 0 points second half, and you had 7 drives to go down there and score 7 points. I'm not even sure what you asked me the question, but I was just really pissed off about the first bit you said.
Yeah, no, quite, grand, man. But my question was basically, the clear problem is the offense. Where do you think the biggest issue on the offense is?
To me, I think it starts with the Matt Canada offense. I think it does. That's the shell of things, right? That's the foundation. And people are saying that Kenny Pickett is a bust. I don't think he's a bust. How is he meant to excel in this, with a really bad offense where you can predict pretty much every single play? A run, pass was the exact same formation in the first drive, and coming out of the second half was run, pass. You had a whole half. You had half an hour to put something together, and he doesn't do anything. Something needs to fall on him, and we've been saying it all the last 7 games. Like it's terrible, man. Like it's bad. Like He's 32nd best in the worst in the league. And see how I always say best because I try and be positive, but he's the worst. 32nd best. Yeah.
No, yeah, I agree. What about you, Nathan? What do you think the biggest issue is on the offense? Is it going to be the coordinators, is it the players' execution? What do you think?
Yeah, I think the underlying issue, and I think really mostly everybody would agree. Now, it's not the single issue. We all know it's not just the single issue, and then you make a change here, and then you're going to see a lot of things get right. But I think it's the biggest underlying issue is obviously their offensive scheme. Teams aren't buying it. Nothing's changed over the last 3 years. Teams know how to play this offense, and if you're able to get somebody in there who's up to date with the current NFL, the current way offense is played in this league, you're going to see a lot more success offensively. They got good talent on offense. They do. Najee Harris, we know he's been disappointing. He's had a down year. He has. But he's still a talented running back. And that's what they need. And maybe if they're able to do that, you might see a little bit more of him get going. They got good talent at receivers and stuff like that. But that's really the biggest underlying issue. I don't think there's any question about it. It's the play calling. It's what they're telling these players to do, and no defense is buying it. No defense is afraid. No defense has been afraid of this offense for years. And the Steelers just cannot get it right with the right scheme for this team. And when you look at it and you look at the rest, not necessarily the rest of the NFL, but when you look at a lot of these teams that are producing offensively and what they do offensively compared to what the Steelers do, I mean, it's night and day. It's night and day. And that's what they got to do this offseason. You fire Canada, okay. Mike Sullivan will step in. He'll be your little, can be your intern. Sure. Who knows ultimately how much of a difference you'll see there. But you got to go in the offseason, man, and really hammer down somebody that is smart, that is knowledgeable about today's current state of the league, and not someone that college teams didn't want and couldn't get things going with a lot of talent at LSU, and then you bring them in here with the NFL. But that's definitely the biggest underlying issue. There's other things too you can kind of pinpoint and choose too that we've been seeing. But really, if you can really clean that up, you're definitely going to see a much cleaner slate.
That's where it starts, though. It honestly starts. Like, a lot of fans are putting so much pressure on Kenny Pickett, but who's the guy calling the plays? It's the offensive coordinator, Matt Canada. And I understand that Tomlin got the guy, but still, if Tomlin got the guy and he's meant to be doing the job correctly, that's his job, that's his role for this team, he's doing the absolute worst you can do. 15 points per game. And that includes Chris Boswell's field goals. And now we kind of know what Chris Boswell, that might have been true, him calling out Matt Canada, because he's scoring almost more points. Chris Boswell's almost scoring more points in this offense. It is really bad times. And I even think, Claypool did fall down, this kind of stuff. Is he that bad? DJ's dropping it. But at the same time, the way they're running this offense is run the Najee Harris into the wall. There's no creativity. There's not pulling the guards. They're not. I don't even know, man. They're not even doing anything to where it looks like it's like he just has one play at a time. He's not linking them together.
Right.
They have a good drive and then he goes away from it. They targeted Pickens a lot of times and then they didn't target him in the second half.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
It's frustrating, man.
It really doesn't. Why doesn't Freiermuth get more targets, man? When you look at the amount of targets, I forget what it was. I saw it earlier. If he was X amount of times that he's targeted, there's certain type of production there. I'd have to kind of go back at the tweet and really, they run pretty in detail on it. But then they've only been giving them 25% targets and things like that, and their production's gone down the drain. I don't understand it, dude. Why do they go away from things that are working? Makes no sense.
Well, I mean, I agree with you guys. I think that Matt Canada is maybe a little bit overwhelmed in his position here as the Pittsburgh Steelers offensive coordinator. And I agree, especially when you see situations where they're trying to run Najee, outside. They're doing a pitch to him, have him run. He's a slow guy. He's not a guy that's going to be able to get to the edge and to the corner quite often. You know what I'm saying? When they're doing that, and there's been a run on similar plays, and one other thing that kind of really starts to bother me is the illegal shift. This past one, it cost us one. That one was a little bit of questionable one, that illegal shift where I think it was Chooks that was kind of moving, but. There's been many a times where you're seeing two receivers or the tight end and a receiver moving at the same time when Kenny's trying to put one in motion. That I don't understand why that's so confusing to them. And, to play a little bit of devil's advocate, let's, I'll play devil's advocate in this situation and just to have a healthy debate here about if Matt Canada is the reason.
It's hard, isn't it?
Here's the thing. You know how you have a quarterback that might be young, but he gets a bunch of different offensive coordinators, and you kind of give him that excuse like, well, he's trying to learn a new system every single year, right? Well, this is kind of the reverse. You have Matt Canada, who's been there. This is his second year. You know, he had Ben Roethlisberger, he had Mr. Trubisky, he has Kenny Pickett. All these guys are early on. You know, this is their first year in this offense. And so I think that, is it possible that the playbook isn't small, but it's possibly that it's limited due to the fact that these guys possibly can't know the entire playbook in such a short amount of time? And, you know, at this point, you also have to look at the execution of certain things. How can you implement more things if you have guys motioning at the same time? You have guys not executing properly. You have guys running into each other in the middle of the field. You have guys that are down the field early, like Chukwuekorfor, for getting penalties. How can you why would making the system more complicated be the answer in that situation?
I think they need to make it less complicated.
Okay,
I think Matt Canada, what he's doing now is just, he's not really taking control over the offense. Like, if you can't move the football, and if you can't design a drive to come out of half and get back into the game, then to me your job needs to be on the line. Now, I get what you're saying with all the quarterbacks, this kind of stuff, but you're a pro football coach. This is what we forget. The guy is a pro football coach. He needs to go out there and coach his team to win, and he's not doing that. So there needs to be pressure on him. I believe that we have all the skillful players like Claypool, like Pickens, like these guys, like Muth, getting involved, but they're not getting involved. Why are they throwing? There I go. My camera went off. Why are they throwing a shovel pass to Gentry, who's not a speed guy? You know what I'm saying? It's to me, I think it more or less falls a lot on Canada. Is it still there? Am I gone?
You're going in now, but to that same degree, I mean, how can I put this? I just feel like adding, you know, is it possible that the reason why we haven't seen more is because these guys haven't gotten this part yet? I mean, you have to kind of be able to, crawl before you can run, much less walk. And so the fundamentals of this offense isn't getting picked up by this team. Like I said before, you got players that are going up the field when they're not supposed to, players that are going into motion when they're not supposed to, running into each other down the field. Like, what's the solution there? Completely throw out the playbook and start new? Then you're going to have to start off again with a limited amount of plays, and you're still stuck in the same boat, in my opinion.
Well, that's when they gotta just can his ass, because nobody's on par with what he's wanted to do.
I agree.
And try. So you gotta get somebody in here that can be or that can connect with these guys, and everybody can be on the same page. Like, that's a big thing. This is Canada's third year, and this offense has been brutal. It's been putrid. Now, I know that you had Ben 2020, you had Ben last year. You've gone a couple quarter with Mitch and Kenny this year, but the fact that the offense isn't producing, the fact that guys are not getting on the same page in the sense of what they're wanting to do. You hear Claypool saying things, then you do more of this, more of that. There's a divide. There's a disconnect there. So when you have that, see you later. You got to bring someone in that can connect. And Canada's offense just isn't what NFL's offense is. It's not. It's not at all. There's no spreading the field down the field. There's no utilizing these guys to their abilities. Chase Claypool, why isn't Chase Claypool getting down the field? Why isn't he now his things that he needs to get better at is aside the point. When you look at, heck, even when Juju was here, if you look back at all these routes they had this guy run, freaking out routes, little drag routes across the middle. Why is he thriving in Kansas City now? Not just because he has Patrick Mahomes, but because they have an up-to-date offense. And
they also have a quarterback.
The last 3 years with the Steelers offense.
Juju even talked about it too. Juju even said he even talked about the offense being better over in KC. I'm telling you, this offense is boring, and you're right. Like, to me, I don't understand how you have the whole year, the whole offseason to go and work work on your craft, and nothing changed from last year. And every single week, you think he's going to game plan for Philly?
Of course
he won't. He'll run the same thing. He'll run the exact same thing.
What are your thoughts on the Philadelphia Eagles offense?
It's fantastic.
They're undefeated. You like it? You like it?
Oh yeah,
the way.
Well, I think they utilize Jalen Hurts really well. They utilize him really well to what he does. He's not necessarily like a run first guy like Lamar or anything like that, but they utilize him with his mobility. They utilize him with being able to attack the field, being able to get the ball down the field to two guys that are great at getting themselves down the field. So AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, you got both of their strengths are guys where they're great. Now, Devonta Smith might be a little bit better in the sense of being that straight down the field type guy, but AJ Brown is so physical, and they like to use him in ways where that's utilized. So they're not like, so Juju's a fit. So let's compare these two. Okay. When Juju was here, Juju's a pretty physical guy. Juju fights for those extra yards, stuff like that. Now, Juju obviously isn't the fastest guy. The way they utilized Juju these last couple years when he was here, if you would go back and watch, or not watch, if you would go back and look at his routes every single game, none of it was to anything in the sense of him being effective. When you look at what Philadelphia is doing with a guy like AJ Brown, now, AJ Brown was good in Tennessee. He thrived really well there. But there's a reason this guy is popping off, because they're getting him in the middle of the field. They're getting him in the sense of where he's not afraid to buy contact. Now, if that's the Steelers, on the other hand, they're not going to put him in that type of way. They're going to have him do these little out routes, not attack down the field, not have AJ Brown spread the field. Both those wide receivers that they have there, they do a really good job at helping them be a threat. And that's something that the Steelers offense lacks with their receivers, is none of them are a threat because they keep them shallow. That's why the defense plays them up front. They say, all right, go ahead and burn us because you guys haven't been doing this for 3-4 years. At least Philadelphia Eagles will attack the field. At least they'll attack it down the field.
But the thing is, that's not. I don't know. I was watching their game today. I was watching the Eagles versus the Arizona Cardinals, and I wanted to watch a non-divisional game because division games are kind of, they can go certain ways. Upsets happen. They're always close, and teams play. They know each other well. So I wanted to go watch a different game from that, and I watched the Arizona Cardinals game. And what I noticed about the Philadelphia Eagles game is that they're not attacking horizontally. Vertically. They're attacking horizontally. A lot of RPOs, tons of RPOs, a lot of shorts, slants, crossers, things of that nature. It kind of reminded me of what Matt Canada wants to do. If these guys would catch the ball, if these guys wouldn't drop it in those weighted moments, things of that nature, not be illegally down the field when they're not supposed to be. There's some of these plays that if the Pittsburgh Steelers execute better, they could easily be maybe 4 and what are they right now? 4-3. They could be right now. You think about it, especially if there's a couple of interceptions that didn't go their way. You look at the Jets game, that interception doesn't happen. They maintain possession of the ball and able to win that game. And this last game against the Dolphins, that last interception, if Pickett throws it towards the top there, that's a touchdown and game over. Steelers win. Mm-hmm. And so, they're a couple plays away from being 4-3 and completely into this now. Which boils back and goes, full circle. I think that there needs to be more to Matt Canada, or something needs to change, because if these players aren't being able to do it, they need to change that. And unfortunately, Calvin Austin III is going to be on IR for the full year, not coming back. What are your thoughts on that? We'll start off with you, Nathan.
I don't really know the too in-depth details on that. I don't really know how much he's really progressed. I saw somebody say that he had a setback or something like that. So it sucks we're not going to see him, and he's definitely someone that would definitely be viable because they need somebody like that with speed that can make a big play down the field like that. But you're right too, because it definitely seems like that Matt Canada wants to do something like that. But the thing with the Eagles, though, is they have threats. They have, like, it works for them because they have threats. They have the best, arguably the best offensive line in the NFL. Miles Sanders has been utilizing that. Jalen Hurts, he's not afraid to throw the ball. He's connecting to his guys. So they're able to successfully run things like that because now you have a dual offense where it's working on both sides of the ball. The Steelers, they're not a threat in any category. So Matt Canada's offense isn't working because, number one, defenses aren't buying it. Number two, players aren't connecting with it. Number three, it's not a big enough threat in terms of what they're trying to do. So the fact that it's not working, and okay, you got to go with something different, and Matt Canada can't offer that. And now maybe if they would bring somebody in, now I'm going a little off topic here off of Calvin Austin. I'll get back to that in a second. But if they bring someone in that even wants to do something similar to that, that's when you have to utilize guys to their strengths. Matt Canada doesn't do that. The fact that these receivers aren't stretching the field, the fact that these receivers, they have them running these stupid ass little 5-10 yard routes, that's not going to do anything. And then you try to run with Harris up the middle all the time and doesn't do anything. It's not even about getting creative with plays or anything like that. It's the fact that you don't oppose a threat to any type defense. You don't take the top off. You don't oppose the middle of the field. Philadelphia does just a really good job at utilizing all those type of categories. And that's why I think it works for them a lot with what they try to run. Calvin Austin, on the other hand, yeah, Calvin Austin's a guy that you would, even when before the season started, you would think, okay, kind of seems like what they want to do. He's a guy that can fit in that, but I don't really know how severe his injury was. I really don't. So now I'm sure Steven Sims will probably be back this year. So maybe utilize a little bit more of him in the offense, but it's just we're in, what week is this now? Week 7, week 8 now. And yeah. And yeah, okay, you can't trust the field, no offensive line, but their offensive line and pass protection hasn't been that bad, Tom. It hasn't been a dumpster fire like we all thought it was going to be. The quarterbacks have had enough time to get the ball down the field. It's the fact that nothing's being called to do that. Nothing's being called to utilize these guys down the field. That's the problem with it. It's not necessarily just about the offensive line. The offensive line is honestly probably the strength of the team with how it's been throughout the year. So nothing's going to change. It's too late in the season for things to just start changing. But let's just, run commercials. You won't miss a thing. You wouldn't miss a thing, man. True. You would not miss a thing. That's why I say when it's like third down, like third and long, I say just punt the ball. Like you're going to throw a little dump off pass when it's 3rd and 15. You're not going to throw it up the field to try to convert. Get out of here, dude. But that's Calvin Austin. It sucks because it would have been fun to see him, but at this rate, with how the Matt Canada offense has been for the 3rd year now, how much of a difference maker would he be? Yeah, I think really that's an opposing question. How much of a difference maker, if Calvin Austin was activated, how much of a difference maker will we see it be with the way everything is?
What about you, Mark? What do you think about the Steelers not utilizing Calvin Austin this year? Is that a huge miss?
It could be. So 2 things, right? I'm going to say this on the premise that Calvin Austin is 100% or 90% fit to play. I would say if Calvin Austin is 90%, there are 2 worrying comments from one, Matt Canada. He said he didn't know how to integrate him back into the offense, which is just crazy. Because if you can't implement one of the fastest guys on your roster into the offense, then you shouldn't be an offensive coordinator, right? If you can't figure that out, and like I always say, these guys have so much time to prepare. You've had, I think Claude or someone said there, you've had him since the draft to actually design schemes up and to get him involved into the team. And if you can't figure out a way how to get him into the roster within at least 8 weeks in the season or from the draft, then you shouldn't have a job. You really shouldn't have a job. Like, what are you doing? What do you do? I don't understand what they do all week. All week, I don't understand what they do for 7 days to prepare for the Eagles, and you see the exact same plays over and over and over and over. No. That's what annoys me. Now, the second point that annoys me, if Calvin Austin is 100% or 90%, Mike Tomlin said he hasn't been playing in stadiums. How do you get reps?
Yeah, I don't understand what that has to do with anything.
You have to play real games, right? So therefore, you put him in the roster. If you're saying to someone, actually, I don't like what you're doing for work, but I've never been trained. Yeah, but you can't do it. But I've never been trained. It's the same thing. What's the point? What's the point in saying, well, you can't play in this team because you haven't played in stadiums? Yes, you have. You've been playing college football. You've been training. It doesn't make any sense. It's to me, is Calvin Austin not ready, or is the coaching staff not ready to implement him? And I believe the coaching staff are making some piss poor decisions because Matt Canada, honest to goodness, sits at home for 7 days a week and twiddles his thumbs and doesn't put anything together. Because it shows last year they were 20 points per game, which was awful, and this year they're 15 points per game. 5 points less yard the average, and they've only scored 10 TDs in 7 games. That's really bad. Yeah, right? Mike
Tomlin says he's not there yet to make a change, though.
I don't understand how you're not there yet. This is what's so frustrating. Honestly, I'm a Tomlin guy, but I'm trending towards the other way because I'm like, what are you talking about? You're 2-5. The season is pretty much over. If they lose this week, they're 2-6. You have to go, and then for the playoffs, you have to go and win 8 or 9 in a row. Right, to make the playoffs. The last time the Steelers were 2-5, I looked at it, was 2003. Okay, that's they were 2-6 after the bye with Bill Cowher and those guys and Tommy Maddox and those guys. Right, this if you're not there yet. This team is bad. I almost want him to go on the stage and just say, you know what, we absolutely stink. I'll see you guys later, and that's all you need to say. But they won't do that. They're hiding behind their egos. Tom has an ego, and Matt has an ego.
To Tomlin's credit, though, he did also say that he wasn't there when it came to benching Mitch Trubisky, and then the next 2 quarters he benched him, and so it's not that it's not possible. It's not that it's not out of the realm. I don't think he's going to notify anybody that it's going to happen until it happens. But let's just say it does happen. Who's somebody you think they bring in from the outside? Well, you think they give Mike Sullivan a chance, who doesn't have the best record as an offensive coordinator himself either? So
it would definitely be him. And then they would do their hiring process in the offseason. Absolutely. But I think just the fact, dude, like, all right, you fire Matt Canada, you bring Mike Sullivan in as the intern guy. Sure, you're probably not really going to see any drastic change, but it's the fact that Matt Canada's out of there. We know that we're going to be getting something fresh, and you need to move on.
But what does that do to the development of Kenny Pickett? I mean, you got to think about. All right, he's going to have Matt Canada. He's going to have Mike.
Okay,
Sullivan.
Well then you can play the other side then. Matt Canada's not going to be here next year, so now you have a guy in Mike Sullivan who. They're probably not really going to change up too much or anything like that. But
so you think that would happen? Let's just say if Matt Canada doesn't get fired in season, he gets fired after the season, that the Steelers are going to promote Mike Sullivan. That's the answer. Or do you think that there's a possibility they go outside?
Well, it's not the answer, but I think in terms of a season that isn't really looking that great, that's probably what you roll with until the offseason and make your move.
Right, but what I'm saying is then so to have a Matt Canada offense and then ran by Matt Canada, then to switch over to Mike Sullivan, to then switch over to a third offensive coordinator, 3 offensive coordinators in the first year. That sounds like something the Cleveland Browns would do. Is that something that the Steelers, you honestly think, would not so much go to that length, but do you think that could possibly have an effect on the development of the quarterback? I mean, having to go through 3 systems.
I don't reckon it would. I don't think it would have an effect because if you play Matt Canada, say for instance, right, and I'm just going back to points because that's what's so factual. If you play Pickett the whole year, they're going to average 15 points per game. So the development of Kenny Pickett, there will be no development, and he'll continue to be under the pump. In my eyes, a dead set. This is what a fan reaction needs to do. They need to cut him today, but they won't. The Pittsburgh Steelers won't do anything this season. They will continue to play him until he gets better. Now, the only way I get back on the Matt Canada train is dead set if he goes out there and scores 45 points and puts it all together. But like Nathan was saying, they can't do that. They can't put a drive together. So to me, it wouldn't like, if you were to chop and change offensive coordinators it's if you're a professional, you deal with it and you move on. There's nothing against stunting his growth or stunting his, and he's only been playing three games in this system anyway, but it doesn't seem like there is a system. Honest to goodness, it doesn't seem like there's anything going on. Like, he legit walks out there and he's running the football twice in a row, and then he's throwing those little those out routes for 5 yards. He's always setting himself up. The Matt Canada system is setting himself up for 3rd down and 1 when he's not pushing the ball down the field. Now, when it goes into 2 minutes, and I think you and I, Daniel, talked about it last week, or I don't know who I was talking to, but when it goes into 2 minutes, right, they go into a no huddle approach, and they throw the football to Pickett and move and get things moving, right? Near the end, if Kenny Pickett ran that ball, he would have been run out of bounds. He would have been fine. They could have scored a TD. Now, if Kenny Pickett threw that football to the other side of DJ, they would have scored a TD, and Kenny Pickett would have been the hero, not the villain. Because he threw it away, he's the villain, and because we lost, we're talking about this Matt Canada offense. They need to make a change, but we all know as Steelers fans, the Pittsburgh Steelers won't do that. They just don't do these things in the middle of the season, no matter how bad it is. And they're hiding behind their egos and saying, you know what, we're not just yet, we're not just there yet. But when will you be there? You're going to wait until you're 2-10, and then you're going to change, and then the season's over. To me, it's a comical of errors, because I thought they had a really good off season with Omar Khan, all these dudes coming in, and now it's the exact same play. And the 4 quarterbacks, it's not on Ben. It's not on Rudolph. Maybe it's not on Mitch. It's the exact same all the time. Maybe the only way that we get out of this is Kenny Pickett says, you know what, I'm going to play my own way and go through the system. Of course, you have to go through the plays, but break down and run a few times, or communicate with his receivers and get things moving. Because otherwise, I really don't think we can score a TD this week.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. So, Bridge,
and the Eagles defense got bolstered with Robert Quinn. They have a good pass defense. They've done a great job, and these last few years at building themselves to where they're at. Because after their Super Bowl run, they had some hiccups there with Wentz, and then kind of there, and then Jalen Hurts. And it was funny with the Eagles too. When Jalen Hurts started the last 4 games in 2020, and he wasn't really that successful. Draft another quarterback. Jalen Hurts his ass. Well, now look, you gave him some time to grow.
He's playing so well, man.
Yeah, you gave him some time to grow. You gave him a strong foundational system. Nick Sirianni's an offensive guy, and he's thriving, and he has good talent around him. Kenny Pickett's got some good talent around him, but he doesn't have a good foundation offensively to work with. So, I agree with Mark. I think if you get rid of Canada now, if you get rid of him at the bye, I don't really think it's gonna do much. Kenny Pickett's played in 3 games, and I think too, it's better get rid of Canada now than if Kenny Pickett starts getting used to some Canada tendencies and stuff like that. But it's not going to affect anything. Kenny's a professional. He's 24. It's not going to affect the thing.
I got a question for you, Daniel. This is what I find funny, and I was talking to Owen about this. Right? Is Matt Canada the best in the NFL? Like, surely there's someone else better than him that can come in. Now, I know it's hard to change during the season. I get that, but even going into the season, is he the best at that position? Because surely there's someone better than what he's doing. Because Denver's playing awful, and so is Indy, but we're right near the bottom of the ranks.
Right. I mean, it's going to be tough. Even if you bring in somebody, they already know this offense. They're going to have to run Matt Canada's offense. I think more logical thing that'll probably happen is they'll probably keep Matt Canada on staff, kind of take away a lot of his duties away from him, kind of like what they did to Buck, the former defensive coordinator here, Buckner, and take away some of his responsibilities, have him, run scouting or whatever, it's still going to be his offense, because these plays, this language, the terminology is all memorized there by this team. And so it's still going to be the Matt Canada offense in quotations, but it could be the play calling be given to somebody else.
I think I found the playbook.
Now, I do want to bring up.
I can throw that away.
Oh, that's freaking great, man.
Now,
freaking great.
I do want to bring up this comment here by Owen. He said Tomlin without Ben is 19-20-1 in an 8-9 postseason. Is that acceptable? The 8 and 9 in the postseason, there has to be a little bit of context. I mean, one of those seasons came to an end because Shazier had that unfortunate accident at the end of the season. You had another one where Le'Veon Bell didn't play because he had a season-ending knee injury. And another one where Antonio Brown wasn't there, and Kobe Hamilton and who was the Fitzgerald or something like that? This is the guy that fumbled.
Yeah, Toussaint.
Oh,
Yeah, that was your weapons there. So there's some context that needs to go with that. Yeah. Those are probably the first time they've ever been called that. But
they just got a shudder. They're like, oh boy, oh
yeah. Please subscribe. And and the other thing is Tomlin's record without Ben. I mean, you go look at Sean Payton's record without Breeze. What's his face? Belichick without Brady. When you have a franchise guy, you more than likely don't have a franchise guy sitting beside, behind him. And so I think that, before this season, he had a lot more wins without Ben than losses. Because, I mean, the Steelers have already lost, 5? So going into this season, that record was 17 and 15, something like that. And so
yeah, you're right.
That's not bad without Ben. That's with Mason Rudolph, though, Owen. That's with Mason.
Landry Jones. Good old Landry Jones. Yeah, I think a lot of Steeler fans too were so used to with how really things have been the last 18 years, right? This is a lot different now, right? Different quarterback, new GM. You got an offense coordinator that's freaking putrid. A lot of young talent now. A lot of times over the years, you had a lot of veteran guys, a lot of proven guys. Some pretty strong coaching with Dick LeBeau in there. When Bruce Arians was here, he was always a very good offensive mind. Heck, I even like Ken Wisenhunt, man, when Ken Wisenhunt was here for a little bit. But so it's a lot different, and I think it's a lot different with Steeler fans. It's a lot different for really all of us Steeler fans, just really this transition now and some questions and uncertainty in the future. But I still think this team has good talent. I don't think this team's that far away from getting back to where they want to be, but they got to play their cards right in the offseason. You've got to get strong coaching. You've got to get a new offensive system. You've got to spend some money in free agency. And you got to do a little bit better with your drafting, because your draft picks really, as of late, haven't really turned out the way you wanted some guys to. And you got to do that. But with Tomlin, I know a lot of heat he's deserved of, because I will say this to this day. I don't care what anybody says. I was never on the Trubisky train. I was never someone that said, well, let Kenny Pickett sit, let him learn. Not every rookie quarterback needs to do that. Not every quarterback needs to do that. Mitch Trubisky was a guy that is a 6-year vet. There's a reason that not a lot of teams were in on him. And he didn't really do anything to win the starting job. And I will say here this day, he mishandled the whole quarterback situation from the start. I don't care what anybody says. Now, yes, we know the offense coordinator is a problem and everything like that. But Tomlin does deserve a lot of heat this year because of stubbornness, because of loyalty. It just seems like this organization just wants to operate like it's 05. Like they just want to stay in their old ways and not change with the way the league is. The Chiefs, the Bills, the Eagles, the list goes on and on and on. San Francisco, right? Do we want to say Cincinnati a little bit? Do we want to say them? I mean, I know they drafted Joe Burrow, but they've done a damn good job at shifting their gear with the modern day NFL. I mean, who else is there? What other strong offensive teams are there, of teams that have changed the guard a little bit over the last few years? You look at let me think here. You look at
a lot of those teams, though, and this kind of comes to my next concern, have a quarterback that can make you that'll make you defend the whole field. You know what I'm saying? You guys not at least a little concerned about the arm strength of Kenny Pickett or this whole 2-glove thing? It was raining in Miami, and a lot of the time the ball didn't come out right. And especially when it looked like he wanted to drive the ball down the field, it looked like he was throwing high because it wasn't coming out, probably because his gloves were wet. Well, no concerns about that, or you think he'll be able to
What?
get
Why
that
does
under
he
control?
wear 2 gloves anyway? I don't understand. If I'm going to be a quarterback, don't you want more grip on the ball with your actual hand? I don't understand why you would wear gloves. Not saying it's a bad thing, but why?
He has smaller hands.
So you have to wear it because you have small hands?
Because apparently it gives you a better grip on the ball, but that's during drier, weather. And so in the rain, those gloves don't, they kind of have the opposite type of thing. They get kind of slick.
Yeah, I don't really think that the arm strength with Kenny's a problem. Kenny hasn't really even been able to showcase a lot of it because they don't throw down the field. So I think let's continue to give that some time in terms of him being able to connect with guys down the field once they actually start doing that on a consistent basis. The gloves thing, yeah, I know that there was a little bit of talk in the sense of like how the ball came out a little bit, like with the rain and stuff like that. But that's something too where you're not going to have weather like that every single week either. That could be, but that's it, dude. Like so many people want to make a determination right now on the guy or this and that. The guy's played 12 quarters in the NFL. Like you got to there's so many times. This is how fans are, dude. They want to freaking just have results right away. They want to expect everything right away. You got to give guys time. Some guys adapt quicker than others. Some don't. You got to give them time. What if the Eagles gave up on Jalen Hurts after his first 4 games in the NFL in 2020? Then what?
I'm not still sold on Jalen Hurts.
He's doing a great job, though. I mean, you got to give him. Yeah, and Kenny Pickett doesn't have a can of an arm or anything like that, but you got to let him be able to throw the ball down the field and see how he does with that. He hasn't been able to do that.
Right. No, and I get that. And to answer your question, and Joe Burrow has slightly larger hands. His hands, I believe, were like slightly over 9 inches, and at the combine, and Kenny Pickett's were 8.5, I think. And so, there was a concern about that. There's the grip concern. There's the control, things of that nature. I'll be honest, that was a concern of mine when the Pittsburgh Steelers drafted him. This is the AFC North. There's nobody that has a stadium in our division. I mean, an enclosed stadium, a dome. And so everybody's out in the elements, and usually the weather is nasty. I mean, all last year, I think almost every game had to deal with some type of rain going on. I know when we went to Pittsburgh, me and the wife, we sat in it, except for, the first game was sunny. But after that, it was a lot of rain. You're going to get colder weather. The season is extended. So the Steelers have a home game late in January, first, January 8th, I believe. I guarantee it's going to be cold, and if there's participation or snow there, that's going to have the same effect on the ball. I'm a little bit concerned about it. Go ahead.
I got a question. Did we answer the question for the title yet? Can the Pittsburgh Steelers season be saved?
No, we haven't. I don't even think we've asked the question. But
oh my God!
Real quick, Brian.
That's it, guys. See you later. Catch us on Nathan's channel.
Yeah, that's it. You might as well chalk it and just let every team know, hey man, we're forfeiting from here on out. So,
right.
Yeah, Brian, they were hesitant to they weren't sold on him and continue to give him time. But I don't know if you guys saw or not. Nick Sirianni said the Eagles did scout Kenny Pickett and did homework and their due diligence on him coming out. They said they liked him a lot, but they wanted to stick with Jalen Hurts and continue to grow with him. I think the thing that just bothers me the most, well, not really bothers because I don't really care, but it's just the small group of Steeler fans that expect that expect things to be great every year, that don't expect bumps or just to get rid of fire everybody when things go south. I don't know what you expected. This team wasn't a Super Bowl contender. A lot of things had to go right this year for them to find themselves into a playoff run. Now they have good talent. They have I think they have a lot of good guys to build off of moving forward. But a lot of things had to go right. So you're in a situation here where you have to, these fans have to accept that really every team goes through this process after their long tenured quarterback retires. Now some can, yeah, absolutely, Kels, they are spoiled. And we understand how really the last 18 years have been, but you got to get back to reality here because unless you're the Chargers, I guess, or Green Bay, where they've kind of hit the jackpot on guys. Teams if they have a long tenure quarterback, like, yeah, of course, like you gotta find your next guy. How long that takes, it depends. A lot of teams are better at developing guys than not. A lot of teams are better scouting than other franchises, stuff like that. But you got to let Kenny grow. I've seen people that just get rid of everybody, or Kenny's not, like, dude, how do you expect to draft a quarterback and he's just gonna be a Hall of Famer like his first season? I don't understand. Kenny's shown some good things. He's shown some bad with his rookie mistakes and stuff like that. But you got to give the guy time. He's got good tools. I think that he's got good upside that you want to look at and can say, yeah, like he can be a pretty good quarterback in the league. He's pretty calm. I think he's got great reaction in the pocket. But yeah, he's made his fair mistakes, and last game was a very winnable game. But you got to continue to give him time and everything. And I think that's just the thing that gets annoying with, and it's not even just Steelers fans. I think you can say that with a lot of franchises out there.
So, with this upcoming matchup, do you guys see Kenny Pickett throwing more touchdowns than interceptions?
What's that, Daniel? Say that again.
Does Kenny Pickett throw more touchdowns than interceptions?
This game, I mean, it's hard to, like Mark said, it's hard to even see a Steelers score a touchdown just based off of the defense they're going against and how their offenses ran. I think Kenny he'll probably throw another pick, man, just because the playmakers Philadelphia's got, and he's still trying to adapt to things and stuff like that. But I don't know. It's hard to say. It's hard to say just in the sense of what their demeanor is going to be coming out of this game. Probably really the same. I don't really think they're going to score many points, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they're not really in the mode to. They're not playing winning football. Like now also with that game against the Dolphins. Like if Kenny throws that TD, he's a champion. Yeah. And we're talking about how good he is. We're not talking about his hands. We're not talking about his power. We're talking about how good he played near the end. The football to Frymouth. But the fact that he ran and he made a rookie mistake and he should have ran out of bounds, or he should have kept running, or he tried to feed one in there and he threw it right to the Dolphins guy. You go back to that film. It was almost like the Dolphin was the receiver. He lit him up. That's a big mistake. But in this game, I think it comes down to the running game and the offensive line running the football. They're not getting any push. They're getting 2 yards. Matt Canada's offense designs it to be run, and pass. He doesn't really change anything up. So then you put pressure on Kenny Pickett to go out there and throw 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, or whatever it is. And even on the 3rd and 5 balls, they're trying to go deep. It's really a mix of everything. Kenny hasn't found his guy yet. I believe that Pickens can be his guy, or Muth can be his guy. Deontay Dropson's still dropping them. Claypool's falling down when he doesn't need to. His offense isn't playing winning football. Let's be honest, they're not. So I want to say that yes, he can go out there and score. In my mind, on paper, yeah, he can go out there and score 4 TDs. You've got all the weapons behind you, right? All the big names. But when you go to the reality of the field, I don't see him scoring more than 14 points. I really don't. And the defense coming out, and it could be a 21-14, 24-26, 28-14 game.
Yeah.
So we haven't won there since 1965. A lot of pressure. Now, this is what I'm saying. If they go out and win this game, and I believe we'll do another podcast beforehand, but if they go out and win this game, it's a game changer. It's a new season. Back-to-back Saints versus Bengals at home with TJ coming back. Different game.
It definitely is. And I think too, that's why that Miami game was really important too, because and it was very winnable. I mean, you had 4, I thought the defense played pretty well against that team, especially with electrifying receivers that they have. They had 4 times they could have picked off the ball they dropped. Not sure how that's possible, but whatever. They definitely, that was a game that slipped out of their hands. Absolutely. And that was, if you have 2 back-to-back wins, that's definitely a big turning point. If they come out with a win in Philadelphia, now people in the chat, we're not saying that it's going to happen. We're saying if any given Sunday, we obviously know these things can happen. We're saying if.
You reckon they can win, Daniel?
I do think they're going to win.
You think they're going to win, Daniel? All right, we'll get into that. We're going
to get into that this Saturday on your podcast when we do the preview. But I'm calling the Steelers upset. There's been a lot of upsets this year. I think the Steelers are going to be the next one to do it.
I mean, that would be great. But yeah, it's definitely one that can definitely kind of be a turning of a ship. You hit your bye week and you're starting to get a little bit healthier. Absolutely. I think that the Steelers are going to have a strong second half of the season, even if they lose against Philadelphia Eagles. I do. That's not saying they're going to make the playoffs, because if 2-6, that's a big, big, big hill to climb. But I think they will. You look at their schedule. TJ's going to get back or get a little bit healthier. I think Kenny's going to continue to grow. What they do with Matt Canada, who knows? But I still think, regardless, that they will have a strong second half. And I think that's what you want to see as a fan. You want to see them. You want to see them grow. You want to see them continue to be competitive, be there in games and things like that.
After the Bucks game, I was like, "Oh, let's go Super Bowl!" You know, they beat Tom Brady, and then they went backwards. But if they beat the Eagles, if they do, then TJ having the bye off, and then the Saints and Cincinnati back-to-back home games. Oh boy, it's back on, man. It's back on. But the team's got to prove it to us, man.
It is. And I think that just the most important thing throughout this year is, like I said, I think that there's some Steeler fans that had higher expectations than they should have this year. I think the Steelers had maybe some higher expectations than they thought this year. And they obviously, we kind of know the way they wanted to win, with winning with defense and hardly scoring offense, but that's not the way the league, and that's why they got to change their ways, because the league's offense now, the way to win is offense now, and that's their fault. But that being said, why not that they can't have a strong second half? I think they can. Absolutely they can. And that's the thing. That's the thing with it too, is that teams that aren't really looking good as you kind of get to the halfway point of the season, certain things can happen, man, and a team's schedule or a stretch of games that can really turn a guard, that can really rally a team. And hell, if they beat the undefeated Eagles and find a way to do that, absolutely. And I think that you can look at that and be like, damn, man, that's a huge win. That's a win that can really turn things around, going into your bye, getting a little healthier, and that can really rally a team and flip morale. Absolutely it can. Absolutely. But that's a big ask for that to happen. I just think that we should all have, and not saying that a lot of us don't. I think a lot of Steeler fans are kind of in the same wavelength that we are, but you have your individuals, you have your groups, and you just have to accept this was going to be a tough season in the sense of wanting to get from here to here. A lot had to work out. But the good thing is that this isn't a franchise like Detroit or anything like that that can ever figure things out. They develop guys. They're a smart franchise. There's a reason why they are what they are. There's a lot to look forward to. And I still think this year, even if they lose this weekend, there's still things to be excited about. Kenny's growth, George Pickens, and continuing to see how these guys finish off the year. And that's what you want as a Steeler fan. You want to see a strong second half. You want to continue to see these guys each and every week get to the next spot, get to the next point. And that's really important. Now, obviously, for us Steeler fans, we obviously want them to win and get to here, but you have to go through this adversity, these bumps, to get to a lighter situation. And I don't think they're that far. My bad. I don't think they're that far away from doing that.
Got you. Yeah, no, I don't. I think that the Steelers are equipped to handle a mobile quarterback because of the mobile quarterbacks in the division.
Yeah,
I think the Steelers are equipped to handle A.J. Brown. I believe we've done it before when he was with the Titans.
Yeah.
Their team doesn't scare me. Defensively, I'm worried about how many points the Steelers can put up. You know, I have a feeling the Steelers are going to be able to, manage their offense. Monte Casey might be coming back. That's going to be huge because he's going to be able to deploy a 3-safety look that the Pittsburgh Steelers have been wanting to do. That isn't out on tape yet because of his injury. And so I think there's some chances there. And stick tuned, guys. Hit that subscribe button so you can follow the channel. So I'm going to go more in depth in this later on this week and kind of put a bow on it when we do the Unofficial Steelers podcast on Nathan's channel come Saturday night. But we're getting a little long in the tooth. Before I let you guys go, I just want to remind everybody I'm giving away 2 tickets to the Steelers versus Raiders game. That there's only like 25 people who've entered the contest. The link is in the description. go to the YouTube, look in the description, follow that YouTube URL, and go into the code word and get entered into the contest to win 2 tickets to see the Steelers. It's in the lower level of the end zone. They're on December 24th. They'll be retiring Franco Harris's number in halftime. So be a part of history. So go hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Once this channel's over, go check them out. Also, guys, if you're interested in other topics, I'm on another show called The Drunk Turkey Show. We'll be going live in a couple of hours tonight, talking about the Halloween series. So if you're into Halloween and drinking alcohol, yes, sir. Hit us up on The Drunk Turkey Show. Links.
By the way, guys, Halloween Ends was ass, so don't go see it.
We talk about it. About it.
Yeah.
Wait for The Drunk Turkey Show, because we'll be doing it. We'll be talking about it with an alcoholic beverage in hand. It's not it's not the family friendly show. There is some adult beverages and adult language sometimes used, so I wouldn't watch it around the kids. But guys, before I let you guys go, is this it? The question I'm going to ask you guys, and then let everybody know where they can find you. Is this it? Are the Steelers done? Is it over? Is it time to pack it in and look towards the draft? Or can the Steelers still save the season? We'll start off with you, Mark.
Yes. This season can be saved, because I'll put it this way. As much as I hate the roller coaster, the emotional roller coaster, up and down, up and down, up and down, I don't want to, like I always say to Maddie on Steelers Touchdown Under, I don't wait 9 months to not enjoy football.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I don't wait that whole fucking time to be like, you know what, we suck, we stink, I'm not going to watch. We've only got 10 games left, and we need to enjoy them. As bad as it is, we need to enjoy them. And I'm not talking about the draft. I don't talk about the draft on my channel until about after Super Bowl, because then we have like 4 months of talking about the draft, and nothing really changes. The players don't really change too much, and there's only so much you can say. So when you do content stuff like we all do all the time, daily, here or there, and podcasts all over the shop, you don't want to fast forward too much, because then at the end of the day, you're fast forwarding another year. And then the more we fast forward, the more grayer my hair gets than this. And the more older I get. And I'm like, crap, that sucks. Year's over. So I don't care about next year. I care about this week. I care about versing the Eagles and beating them at home. Now, can we do it? Absolutely not. I don't think we can. But I would cheer them to. And I will get so amped up again by the end of the week. And I'd be like, I'm so keen. Matt Canada's going to go out there and design a hell of a game. And then be frustrated again. But yeah, to answer your question, can the season be saved? 100%. I think DB in the chat said we're 2 games behind the Ravens. I will be cheering tomorrow the Buccaneers for Tom Brady to beat them. So we're still 2 games behind the Ravens. Because at this point, the best chance to win and go to the playoffs is the division. And yes, I think it can be saved, but it's up to the players. It's up to the whole team, actually. They've got to look hard. They've lost 5 games, man. That's a lot of games. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. What about you, Nathan?
Anything technically, yeah, like it can. I think a lot of things have to happen for that to happen. But putting everything kind of in perspective here, you pull out a win against Philadelphia. I think that will really rile up the fan base. I think that will really rile up the team. And it's a game like that, and I did say this with the Tampa Bay game, but it's a game like that against a team that's undefeated at home, et cetera, that you can look at and be like, you know what, this was the start right here. And that's why it's definitely a huge game for them. I think they know that. And heck, if they're able to upset them and beat them, absolutely that can turn the ship. Now, does that mean that that's going to be like getting a playoff run? Not necessarily, but it can mean that we're seeing that we start seeing guys bought in, guys invested, more competitive play in terms of game-to-game opponents. Sure, there's still going to be your things there that are problems. I think really pretty much every team always has problems every year. But it's a game like that can really kind of solidify a season, that can get people excited, to get a team going where, there's some down morale, there's some division there. And it would definitely be exciting for us fans, absolutely. But I'm not going to say it can be saved in the sense of getting like to where you'd want them to be, in the sense of like having a good playoff run necessarily. But I think it's still possible it can, where they're still fighting in the division and trying to vie in that type of realm. But there's certain things that got to happen for that to happen. Can that? Sure, absolutely can. It comes down to players, comes down to your coaching, comes down to your preparation. But it's a big ask against this weekend. Can it happen? Absolutely. Absolutely, they can upset them. Any given Sunday can happen. We see that all the time every year. But it's going to be I don't know, man. I think I don't think it's going to be a good game. But all you can do is just kind of sit back and watch and see what happens.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think this defense is coming back, and I think that this season can be saved. As far as the season being saved, the definition is, I don't think they're going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But I think they can turn the season around and get back to being a respectable team. And if they get a little run going, who knows? You never know.
No, you don't. And it's happened before. And that was kind of really my thought on the team going this year is that, I think a lot of things had to go right for them to kind of get what their goal is every year. But I still expected them to kind of be competitive and vie in the division, and having the TJ Watt injury hurts, and the issues with quarterback and OC, blah, blah, blah. Things didn't really work out the way the Steelers wanted, and really how they were preparing for it to. So now you're where you're at now, 2-5. And now pretty much at this point, you have to win a lot of these games to turn ship around and stuff like that. But I just try to keep perspective, man. Like kind of what Mark said. Like I don't let Steeler losses affect my day. I used to let that happen, but I don't let it. I want to enjoy football. I want to enjoy the other games. Football only comes around 4 months of the year pretty much, man. And even if the Steelers are struggling or frustrating, or heck, even if they're good or great and stuff like that, you still want to enjoy that. And that's really the point I always like to pinpoint on the season is like, 2-5, it's not looking good. There's been a lot of problems that have happened that the Steelers were hoping that wouldn't happen, and they did, blah, blah, blah. But you still have things to be excited about as the years go on, as this season continues to go on, things to look at. And that's what I said too, man. They're not. They can have a good offseason. They're not far from being at least to where they want to be in some capacity. So, but I still think they'll finish off strong, even if they lose Sunday. I think they'll have a strong second half where they're able to rack up some wins or something like that, and finish off a high note, even if they finish with 6-7 wins or something like that. But
they might go, if they lose 2-6, they might go 11 wins in a row.
I mean, they did that. They did that in what year was that? That was
they started the year 11.
Imagine if the Steelers won 11 in a row, they went 11-6 and made the playoffs and won the division.
That'd be amazing.
And you know what? It's a short window. I know we got long in the tooth, but short window. You're right. We this is why we're hopeful. So you know what? Lose the game, go to the bye. We'll go 11 straight. TJ back 11 in a row.
11-0, man. That's the wide path to the Super Bowl. Hit number 7 and put the 7 in the case.
Matt Canada's like, see, got ya. I was really shit at the start, but near the end we played well.
Yeah, we just made sure that they didn't have it on tape. It's a long season. But with that being said, guys, we're going to put a bow on this. I want to thank everybody in the live chat and everybody that was a part of the show. Please hit that like and subscribe button and answer your question. The Drunk Turkey Show goes on at 8:05 Eastern, 7:05 Central. That's in a couple of hours. So hit us up. Check us out. That being said, this is the Unofficial Steelers Podcast. Peace.
Welcome to the Unofficial Steelers Podcast, the podcast so unofficial it doesn't have a home. Here's your host From In Hindsight, Nathan Heintz. From Steelers Nation Australia, Mark Davidson. And from State of the Steelers, Daniel J. Here we go!